Okay, folks, so let's look at these unit conversions at the end of your notes. So the first one asks you, what is the mass of 7.68 times 10 to the 25th atoms of carbon-12? So we have 7.68 times 10 to the 25 atoms carbon-12. And we want to know what the mass of that is. How much does it weigh? So we're talking about a big block of carbon here. Think a big block of coal, or a big piece of graphite, or even a big diamond. If I make that lump of coal, or that diamond, out of 7.68 times 10 to the 25th carbon-12 atoms, I want to know what the mass of that lump is. So how am I going to do this? Well, I'm going to start with a number of atoms. I'm going to convert that into a measurement in moles, and I'm going to convert that into a mass in grams. This is my general strategy. I can go back and forth between these different ways of thinking about the amount of carbon I have. And so I should be able to mathematically go from a number of atoms to a mass. My steps are as follows. I'm going to start with my 7.68 times 10 to the 25th atoms, and I'm going to convert it into a number of moles by dividing. I'm going to divide by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. The logic here just follows the logic I would use if I was taking a number of donuts and finding how many dozen that was. If I had 60 donuts, that's 5 dozen, because 60 divided by 12 is 5. So if I do 7.60 times 10 to the 25th, and I divide by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, well, let's take a look at what I would have to do using something like Google's calculator. All right, so here on Google, I would type in the number of moles in brackets, and I would have 7.68 times 10 to the power 25. And notice how I've used the carets there for 10 to the power of 25. And I divide by 6.02 times 10 to the power of 23. And when I do that, I get my answer, 127.574. So in this case, 128 moles. I rounded up to 128 because that gives me 3 sig figs here, just like I have 3 sig figs here. Okay, now I need a mass. If I have 128 moles, what is the mass of carbon that I have? I use the fact that 1 mole has a mass of 12 grams. So if I multiply now by 12 grams, 128 times 12 grams, I get, 128 times 12. 1,536 grams, or 1.54 kilograms. So this is going to be how I proceed with these questions in general. Given either a number of atoms or a mass, I convert that to moles, and then I convert that to whatever I don't know yet. This always involves one division step and one multiplication step. So each of these questions, you expect to do one division and one multiplication. You're always multiplying or dividing by the same thing. You're either multiplying or dividing by 12, you're either multiplying or dividing by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. This is why I was a little disappointed that we didn't get a lot of answers today. Seeing as how I'm asking you to either multiply or divide 4 times, and there's only 2 possible numbers to multiply or divide by, this should not have been the kind of thing that we took 40 minutes on and then failed to provide good answers for. So, doing the other ones super quick here. For example, if I'm looking at 15.7 grams of carbon-12, I'm going to convert that into a number of moles, and I'm going to convert that into a number of atoms. How am I going to do that? Well, first of all, I'm going to divide by 12. There are 12 grams in a mole of carbon-12. So if I take 15.7 and divide by 12, I'll get my number of moles. Then I'm going to take that and I'm going to multiply by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. Each mole has 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd atoms, so we can multiply to find our final number of atoms. I'll leave these actual calculations to you because I think you could use the calculator for practice. The next question is very similar. Question 3. You want to know what is the mass of 3.1 times 10 to the 22 atoms of carbon-12. So we will do 3.1 times 10 to the 22 atoms. We will divide by 6.02 times 10 to the 23. And that'll give us some number of moles. And then we will multiply by 12, and that'll get us some number of grams. So I'd love it if you did that calculation. And then finally, for the last one, we have 125.8 grams of carbon-12. That's equal to some number of moles, which in turn is equal to some number of atoms. How are we going to determine that? Well, we're going to divide by 12, because each group of 12 represents 1 mole. Each group of 12 grams represents 1 mole. And then we're going to multiply that result by 6.02 times 10 to the 23, because that's how many atoms there are in each mole. Alrighty, give that a shot if you haven't already. I really, really recommend actually doing this out so that you get practice using your calculator, and come back tomorrow ready to move on from here.